Prop the Mic, presented by Props.cash. Beautiful Halloween weekend, Friday here in LA. I got to spend the morning at my son's school, watching all the kids and many of their grown-ups parade around in their costumes, but I'm back home in my safety zone now, doing my gambling research, trying to get my head around this full NFL and NBA schedule we got going on simultaneously now. How are you faring with that combination, Dave?
I'm good, man. I'm always good. I'm gonna go as a degenerate gambler for Halloween this year. Which
You don't have to change much. You're good to go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know what that actually looks like, but it's probably not good.
You need like a daily racing form, and you're folded up in your back pocket.
Fold it up in your back pocket. FanDuel and DraftKings constantly on your phone. I'm sure there's a few other people out there.
Yes.
But no, it's good. Listen, I mean, it is a bit of a change, kind of with NBA. We were in such a good cadence with NFL, like covering the 3 days of NFL. Yeah. NBA just came in and was just like, "Yo, move out of the way.
Yeah,
it's time. It's time for NBA." So we're still trying to figure out how to like get it all in. We're splitting up the duties, but we're going to come up with a regular schedule that will probably focus mostly on the TNT games for NBA, and then obviously making sure we don't lose out on the Sunday slate for NFL. But look forward to putting that out sometime this weekend, the future schedule. But keep tuning in. We're going to cover both sports, and we'll get the right rhythm going.
Sounds good. Can't wait to get there.
Okay. But in the meantime, we're up over 60 units for NFL, and we're up 3 units already on NBA. So as long as you're playing our plays, you're making money. So just keep hanging with us. All right. Last night, good night in the NBA. It was fun, right? Kogi came through for us. Financially, I feel very tired today because I actually stayed up and watched like almost that entire game. So I'm gonna try to limit my plays on 10 p.m. games going forward.
Yeah.
But the games were fun, and now we got a big I think 11 game slate tonight. So check out X. We've already put out 3 picks. We'll maybe get another one up there today. But now we're talking about Sunday football. You ready for it? Week 8.
I am. I will just say it was very sad to leave you. When I left New York to move to California. But one of maybe the best reason of living in on the West Coast is the sports and the fact that my night was over at my night was done at 9:00 last night. It was could go to bed.
That's a very old person thing to say right there.
It is. Yes, I'm well.
Getting there.
Yes.
All right. So we went through the slate for this weekend. Obviously, there's less games now that the buys are starting to kick in. Picked out our favorite 5. Based on what we've talked about in the past, a lot of it is about how the lines, offensive, defensive lines match up, and also just total scoring in the game and things like that. So I like the games you've chosen, Tom. Let's dive right into the first one. You ready to go?
Let's do it. Yes. Thank you for that compliment.
All right. So the first one is the game that we talked about just a couple weeks ago, KC and Denver. I was actually surprised to see on the schedule that they're playing again this soon.
Yeah.
But KC is going to Denver this time. KC 6-1, 2-5 for Denver. Denver's getting 7 points at home. And a total is nice in this one, even though the first one was relatively low scoring. This was a 47-point game. So what do you like?
So this game, this is actually, I think this gets the award for the first game this season where every single matchup in terms of like the KC passing game, the KC running game, the Denver passing game, the Denver running game, all popped out in our model and all is overs. Like this is the first time this has happened this season. So and immediately, my eyes were wide into this, and I'm like, all right, we're definitely gonna have some good plays here. So let's start on the Denver side. Let's look at the Denver running game. Denver has the second best run block win rate, and KC has the worst run stop win rate. So that's why that one was popping off. KC has allowed the most rush yards per attempt. And then my favorite metric here is the most yards before contact. So I love when they have the worst run stop win rate and allow the most yards before contact. That like just sets off alarm bells for me here. They also only 6 tackles for loss all season long. So I believe we were on him recently, Javonte Williams, over 47.5 rush yards.
We were last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, minus 114 on FanDuel. He had 52 in that game against KC 2 weeks ago. He had 82 against Green Bay last week. I think this is a great spot to go back to him here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this KC Denver game was the game we went to in person, and the only real positive aspect of the offense for Denver was the rushing game. And when they were going to their running backs early in the game, they were moving the ball. When they stopped doing that, and started to throw the ball, they couldn't get anywhere. So
Mhm.
I think it's a phenomenal play. I think I was looking at this one too. I think his rush attempts have been pretty consistent, and even last week versus Green Bay at 15 rush attempts, which was a season high. I think it's a great play. The only risk to this play not cashing, in my mind, is KC gets out to a big lead. But we saw the first matchup in KC
Yeah.
remained relatively tight, and at home, I think this one will probably stay 7 to 10 points. So
I think so.
Not abandon the rushing game. So I like this one. It's a good play.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's keep going here. Let's stay with the running backs here, and then we'll switch around. So let's look at the KC running game now. So KC has an average run block win rate, but Denver has the second worst run stop win rate this year. So nice matchup in the running game for the Chiefs. But even a little better is the passing game for running backs, right? So KC has the best pass block win rate. Denver has the third worst pass rush win rate. Denver's allowed the second most receptions to running backs, the third most targets to running backs, the most yards after contact on receptions by running backs. So I think we were on this play in the game that you were at, right? In KC, Pacheco over 15.5 yards.
Pacheco 15.5 receiving yards.
Yes, sir. That line just seems low to me. I feel like that should be higher. So I jumped all over it. What?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I was debating between the receptions and the receiving yards. The receptions were 2.5, and he had 6 versus Denver. But he's only hit that in, let's look at just this year. He's only hit that in 4 out of the 7 games, whereas the receiving yards, he's hit that in 5 out of 7. So
yeah.
And the beauty of the receiving yards is he could do this in the first drive of the game. One little dump to Pacheco and he could run off for 20 yards. So I love it. I can't believe the line is this low. So it's the first play I'm locking in right after this.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're on the same page there for sure. So I also I just mentioned that it's also a nice matchup for the running game as well. So I don't think they're out on most books yet, but the rush plus receiving yards for Pacheco, I also think is a nice play.
Yeah, you can get at Caesars at 83.5.
I have a feeling that when it comes out on DK FanDuel, it might be a little bit lower. I feel like that line because what's his rushing yards? I feel like he should be probably around
his rushing yards of 70.5. Yeah. So it's actually I'm sorry. No, that's a points bet. It's at 64.5.
I feel like it should be closer to 80 than like 83.5. Like, I don't know. So I want to see what that line is when it comes out on a couple of the other books there, but I think that's a good spot as well. How do you feel about going to McKinnon's receiving yards?
I do like it, but that was a painful sweat the last time we played it. He really doesn't get a lot of targets. If you look he plays third down. That's basically it. Comes in for third down situations. There was a couple drives later in the game where he stayed in more than that. But if you look at this, he is getting, where are the targets up here? He's getting 3 targets. He did have quite a few targets against Denver, I guess. So that would be a reason to play at 5 against Denver, but then only 2 last week. So I think, his longest reception isn't out yet, but if that comes out, I think that's a good play. I think if you're going to go McKinnon, just go for the home run. Go for like a 50-yard day on receiving for McKinnon, because you saw there was a play in that game where he actually almost had like a 50-yard reception.
Yeah.
And that was paying, I think, something close like plus 600. So that's the angle I'm going to go with. I think Pacheco is a smarter play just because he gets the volume and he's on the field most of the game.
Yeah.
McKinnon, I think, is really good for like a home run strike.
Gotcha. I like that. That makes sense. That's good. All right. You want to move over to the KC passing game then? What do you say?
Yeah, of course.
That's
the only reason why I would hesitate to play McKinnon's rushing yards is just because, Mahomes has just been throwing the ball like crazy.
Yeah. So KC has the best pass block win rate. Denver has the third worst pass rush win rate. Denver's allowed the highest quarterback rating so far this season. So let's go with Mahomes over 273.5 passing yards. He's gone over in his last 3 games, including the game against Denver. I don't know. I don't think we need to say too much more. I think this is a no-brainer here.
Yeah, what I will say is grab it while you can, because it's 273.5 on DraftKings and 287.5 on FanDuel. That's a big difference for only being Friday.
Yeah.
So I think and the 287.5 kind of pushes you a couple of these games like beyond. So I'd still think he's getting 300 passing yards in this game.
Feels that way.
And it's a decent hedge if you do some stuff on McKinnon or Pacheco, I think, that's a pretty good hedge with Mahomes passing as well. So I like that. I went a different direction. I think you called this one out last week. I went with the pass attempts, which I just think is a phenomenal value. You're getting this at 34.5 on DraftKings at -140, or I'd probably, get the -118 at 35.5. But last 3 weeks, he's had over 40 pass attempts in each of the games. First 2 weeks of the season, same thing, 39 plus. The only 2 weeks where he didn't clear this was against Chicago, where he only played 3 quarters, and against the Jets, which have a really phenomenal secondary. So I think this one's a home run too.
Yeah, I think that's good. I was on his longest pass, 35.5. If you pull up his his splits against Denver on that one.
Yep.
Very nice. And his 2 longest outputs were the games in Denver. And that's where he's headed to this week. So I think that's also another nice play on Mahomes here.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are all great plays. Only other one I would throw out there, I put this out for the first matchup, and it cashed. I do think Wilson rushing yards is a pretty good play as well. Either 19.5 total, which he's cleared in all 3 games against KC. And then this year he's cleared it in 3 straight. And then I think, is there a longest rush out? Yeah, longest rush at 9.5 is another angle. He's cleared that in actually in 4 straight, right? If you go on DraftKings, you can get that for 9.5. So I think that's a good play too. I think he's going to have to scramble a bit in this game as well.
And I would like to mention Denver does have the second best run block win rate, which is I was a bit surprised about. So yeah, good situation for him.
Yeah, definitely. And these could come in garbage times too. So I think that's a good play. All right, let's move on. That's it for this game, right?
Yep.
All right, let's go to Baltimore at Arizona. I'm very curious. What had you pick in this game? Baltimore's 5-2 in the season. Arizona's 1-6. I think Arizona we might have played in every single week so far.
Yeah, great. They're a great target because their defense is garbage. So
Arizona's getting 9.5 points, so that explains garbage defense. Total's 44.5. First of all, is Kyler Murray playing in this game, or is
he practiced? He was a full participant in practice on Wednesday, but he hasn't been activated yet, so don't know. Not sure.
I feel like this is kind of a rough game to come back, right?
Yeah, I might wait till next week.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What do you like here from a matchup standpoint?
All right. Arizona, 6th worst pass rush win rate. Baltimore, 13th best pass block win rate. So I think we can go to the passing game here. This is the reason why we've continued to target Arizona. 3rd highest quarterback rating against, 2nd most yards per attempt, the most air yards per attempt, 2nd most completions of 10 plus yards, the fewest quarterback knockdowns, 2nd most red zone attempts. So I'm going back to Lamar passing yards. We cashed on this last week, over 233.5, -115 on DK. If you look at the unders, all his unders are against good passing defenses, right? But then when you look at what he did, Detroit, whose passing defense is similar to Arizona here, he threw for 357 yards against them last week. So I think this is a great spot for them. They were clicking last week big time, and I think that carries over again this week to another team who's a nice target for a passing game offense.
Nice. Yeah, my only hesitation was just Geno Smith. We were on him last week, and he, just the last 2 weeks, quarterbacks have struggled a little bit to get over that line. They've had pretty good halves, but Stafford only ended up with 226, and Geno Smith only ended up with 219. So
I saw that.
That's probably my only hesitation is what's changed recently that might be changing this trend. Got any thoughts on that?
I saw that as well. I don't know. I think Lamar is he's a tier above those 2 guys for sure, and I think the Ravens are a tier above the Seahawks and the Rams for sure. So I don't know. I would I don't have as much hesitation here. I think this is a great spot for him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was probably the most fun play from last week, right? Just cashed it in the first quarter, I think it was almost, right? So
yeah.
All right, what else? Anything else in this game?
Yeah, I got 2 more here. I think I'm going to go back to Zay Flowers again. Over 55.5 receiving yards. So wide receivers, obviously, if the passing game is good for the quarterback, it's typically good for the receivers he's throwing to. Arizona, 4th highest yards per reception, 6th most yards before catch, 9th most yards after catch. Always very nice. 5th most red zone targets, second most receptions of 10 plus yards, and the second highest average long reception. So I like him. He's gone over in 5 of 7 games this season, had 75 yards against Detroit last week. I think this is a nice spot. I think that line will creep up a little bit as the weekend goes on. So I like him at 55.5 here.
Yeah, seems to really be kind of the standout player this year for that team. So I think that's nice. What do you think about his longest reception at 22.5? You like that?
Yeah, I just said, Arizona has given up the second highest average long reception this year. So they're giving up big explosive plays, second most receptions of 10 plus yards. I think third most of 20 plus yards. So yeah, I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, the other player that I was on last week was OBJ, longest reception. That also seems to be probably a decent play here.
What were his targets last week?
He's not getting a lot of targets, I don't think. Let me see. Last week his targets were up big. He went from getting about 3 to 4 targets a game up to 7 last week. So his targets were definitely up. But if you look, like most of his yards are coming from like long reception. So and his longest is only 18 yards, which really isn't that far for him. So I think that's another receiver that's probably a good option here as well. In addition to Flowers, I would play them both.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then the only other play I have in this game, so I like this matchup in the run game. Baltimore has the 9th best run block win rate, and Arizona has the 6th worst run stop win rate. So I like Lamar over 47.5 rush yards. If you look, the quarterbacks haven't been getting there. But really, the only other running quarterback to play Arizona this season was Dimes, and he had 59 yards on a 38.5-yard line. So I think this shapes up nicely for Lamar to have a nice running day as well.
Yeah. I mean, Brock Purdy, Burrow's like on one knee. Stafford's not really running.
Yeah. So
Geno's kind of more like a scrambler. The only real running quarterback was Jones. So
yeah.
That's pretty good. And even Prescott, who's probably somewhere between a scrambler and a running quarterback, he put up 24 on a 13.5 line.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Probably 2 good data points there. Yeah, I like that. I feel like Lamar is like really focusing on the passing game this year. He's probably got the best weapons he's had in years. And he's probably trying to protect himself for the long run. But rushing attempts, look at that. He's still getting 9, like probably averaging 9 rushing attempts a game. So I think that's probably a good play.
Yeah, against this Arizona D, I think he can break one off there. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Let's move on.
Let's go to Cincy at San Francisco. Cincy's 3-3, so watch out. They're doing what they do. They just sneaking back into the race
and coming off a bye, right? So they got to rest up. So
yeah, that's a good point. Burrow might look pretty good this week, but probably not the best defense to try it against. San Fran's 5-2, coming off of 2 straight losses after they looked unstoppable, and now with McCaffrey kind of banged up and Debo out, they're like looking human again. San Fran's -4 in this game still, and totals 43.5. I found one of my favorite plays of the week in this one. What do you like in terms of matchups? Let's hear what you got. See if it lines up.
All right, so this the matchup here is actually an under on the Cincinnati passing game. Cincinnati has the 6th worst pass block win rate. San Francisco has the 8th best pass rush win rate, so huge mismatch there. San Francisco's allowed the 3rd lowest quarterback rating this season, 3rd lowest yards per attempt, 5th lowest air yards per attempt. They have the most quarterback knockdowns. They have the most quarterback hurries this season. So they're going to be putting tremendous pressure on Joe Burrow here. San Francisco allows the 3rd fewest yards per reception to wide receivers, 10th fewest yards before catch, 4th fewest yards after catch. This just does not shape up to for a good day through the air for Mr. Joe Burrow, even with that extra rest. I'm fading him here, under 246.5 passing yards, -115 on DK. He's only gone over in 2 of 6 games this season, and this is not the team to let him go over for a 3rd time. So I think he stays under here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good play. I personally will lay off of it just because of the uncertainty, with him kind of, using his historical data from the earlier in this season. I'm not sure if that's reflective of where he's going. Mm-hmm. I also a little cautious because Kirk Cousins just put up a monster game, and even Dobbs put up a 265-yard game. Mm-hmm. So a little cautious on that one. I like it. I don't love it though, to be honest. Yeah. I was more of a fan of fading the rushing game. What do you think about that?
Okay, let me hear it.
Yeah, San Francisco has really been very stout defensively from the rush standpoint, giving up only 79.3 yards per game. Mm-hmm. Joe Mixon is coming off of 4 pretty good weeks, but his line is up as high as 56.5. So I think he will struggle to cross that line. If you just look at the running backs that have, performed against San Francisco of late, Madison at 39 yards. Jerome Ford had a big game with 84, so that's an anomaly there. Pollard was great, running back 29, Connor 52, Breida, forget that data point. Kyron Williams 52, and then Najee 31. So I think running backs haven't really fared very well against San Fran, and I think the line is fairly strong. So I'm going to go under on Joe Mixon 56.5. Rush.
Okay, makes sense. I like the logic there. I had an over on the San Francisco run game. Obviously, there's no lines out on McCaffrey yet. He's dealing with that oblique injury. But he did he practiced in full Wednesday and Thursday, so I would assume he's playing. It just no lines out yet because it's not confirmed. But when they come out, I think an over on his rushing yards, especially I think Purdy probably won't be playing. If Sam Darnold's playing, I think he'll definitely lean on him even more. But Cincinnati has the 4th worst run stop win rate, while San Francisco's offensive line has the 6th best run block win rate. Cincinnati's allowed the 5th most rush yards per attempt, 2nd most rush attempts in total, 6th most rushes of 10 plus yards, and the 5th highest average long rush. So I think once McCaffrey gets cleared to play here and his lines come out, I will be on his over.
That was my favorite play of the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great matchup, and given the the uncertainty with Purdy and his health and the quarterback situation there, I think it's just prime for just handing the ball off to McCaffrey over and over again. So
you want to guess what the line's going to come out at?
82, somewhere around there. What do you think?
I think it's going to be. It's going to be like 85ish. I think it's going to be up there. I think
it's going to be up there.
I think it's still good though. I think he goes for 100. No problem here.
It's still good, and if you're afraid of the yards, I think looking at the rushing attempts will be another good angle there too. That usually comes out around 18 for McCaffrey, which is pretty high. But I think he'll be good for 20 plus rush attempts this game. So I might go that angle too. And then of course, if he's playing, just tack on and anytime touchdown for him because it's a guarantee pretty much every game.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else in this one?
That's it.
All right, let's go to this one's fun. The Rams at the Cowboys. Rams are 3-4. Cowboys are 4-2. Cowboys are -6. Total is 45.5. So nice, decent scoring game. What do you like in this matchup?
All right, 2 things to look at here. Unders in the Rams passing game. They have the 10th worst pass block win rate. Dallas has the 4th best pass rush win rate. 4th worst quarterback rating. 9th shortest average pocket time. The fewest pass attempts allowed. And the 2nd fewest completions of 10 plus yards. So Stafford's line is not 256.5. So I like that. I actually thought it was going to be a little bit lower. So I think there's good value here in taking him under. It was -114 on FanDuel. He's gone under in 3 straight games. No quarterback has cleared this line against Dallas this season. I know they haven't played like a slew of all pro quarterbacks, but no one's gotten this high.
I do know that because I was looking at this play as well. If you look down here in props like cash passing yards versus Dallas, not only has no quarterback passed 256, but only one quarterback has actually passed his set line, and that was Brock Purdy, who got 252 on a line of 238.5. So quarterbacks haven't done anything against Dallas, and I love the data point. Some of these guys, Daniel Jones, Wilson, Dobbs, Mac Jones, those are not great quarterbacks. But then you got Justin Herbert, who's a pretty good quarterback with a 268.5 line, and he finished with 227 in a pretty high scoring affair. So I think that is a good play here under on the passing yards. While we're on it, I actually think there's an even better angle on the passing game. I think completions, which Stafford has only had 21, 15, and 14 completions in the last 3 games. Look at this chart down here. Not a single quarterback has surpassed their completions in any game. The first 5 quarterbacks they played didn't exceed 17 completions.
Wow.
Right? So,
dude, I love it. I love it.
And even Justin Herbert, who had a line of 25.5, is at 20, finished with 22, and Stafford's at 23.5. So I think that's another angle too. I think that's the direction I'm going to go. So that's -125 on FanDuel. Grab it there before it goes down because the rest of the books are at 22 already.
Yeah, I think this is also great because especially when the one thing that concerns me with this one is that with having big explosive playmakers at wide receiver and Kupp and Nakua, like they can rip one off, right, and that might end up busting your yardage. But the completions, I think, is definitely is the safer play here. I'm with you. I prefer that over the yards that it just gave out, although I think that's also still pretty good.
Yeah, those are always painful though. Like when you when you're just watching them, like especially if Dallas ends up with a big lead and they just back off and let them
Yeah,
just keep dinking and dunking.
yeah,
The Jordan Love over,
yeah,
where he gets like 9 completions on one drive when
yeah,
he's like has no shot. So anyway, but I think this game will stay competitive. Right, it's only a 6-point game.
yeah.
So
It should. Yeah.
all right, cool. Anything else in this one?
No, that's all I had.
Yeah.
There is. I should mention that in our model, and over on the Rams run game is actually something that was. But I didn't see any lines out on Williams yet. But just noting the matchup there.
Yeah, I also just looking at the rushing touchdowns versus the Rams. I thought that was a good opportunity for Tony Pollard, but he's only had one game with a touchdown this year. 2 touchdowns against the Giants. So I'm laying off of that one. But the data was saying play it, but I'm going to stay away.
All right, the
It's kind of
hometown.
weird. It's kind of weird how Stafford's receiving yards have passing yards have gone down as soon as Cooper Kupp came back. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And Cup's had big games too, right?
Right. It just feels like there's something wrong with the rhythm now that he's back in there.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. You would think he would be a plus, not a minus.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite game of the week. You ready for this? New York versus New York.
Every 4 years we got one.
Not the New York team up near Canada. The two that play in New Jersey. So we got the Jets at the Giants. Jets are 3-3 on the season. Giants are 2-5 in the season. Both are really need this win to stay relevant. Giants getting 3 points at home. This is really a home game for both of them. Total is 36.5. That is just sad. Both teams are playing with their backup quarterbacks. You got Wilson versus Tyrod Taylor. What other than being a Jets fan, tell me why you selected this game.
I feel like we couldn't have a podcast. It only happens once. It's like the Olympics once every 4 years. We have to. We couldn't do this and not talk about the Jets Giants game. And there was one matchup that was popping out to me, so I figured it would give us an excuse to include it here.
That's a fair point. This is like the only week of the football year that New York is guaranteed to have a win.
Yeah, one of them.
Right. So that's why New Yorkers love this week. So
yeah.
All right, go ahead.
You ready?
Yep.
Giants have the 4th worst run stop win rate. Jets have the 4th best. So huge mismatch there. Giants the 9th most rush yards per attempt and the most rushes of 10+ yards allowed. So I like Breece Hall here for a little comeback. Hasn't been, he's had some big games, but it's had some, underwhelming games as well this season. I like over 68.5 rushing yards, -115 on DK. So he had that monster game against Denver, right? Denver has the 2nd worst run stop win rate, and he ran for 177. Giants, I just mentioned, have the 4th worst run stop win rate. So I think it's a good comp there for him to do some damage on the ground. So I'm going with Breece Hall over. Any comments? Anything?
Yeah, I like it. I just don't like how he's, been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But again, Philly, we knew he wasn't going to do much.
Exactly.
KC, we just talked. They're actually a decent defense to run against, but that was a game where they fell behind. So probably most of those rushing yards came in the second half.
Yep.
I'm almost thinking better than the total would be the longest. I mean, if you look, the 2 games in which he actually reached anywhere near 70 rushing yards, he does it by just busting for like a long one.
That's a good point. Right? Very good point.
So I think there might be better value at just 17 longest rushing yards. He could get that and still finish with 60 rushing yards, miss the total, and still cash. What do you think?
I like it, and especially with the nice mismatch on the line. He could get a nice hole at some point that he can just break one for. So yeah, that might be the sharper angle here to take his long run. What is it? 16.5?
Yeah, 16.5 is -120, or the total at 67.5 is -115. So you basically get it for the same price. And he's hit one of them in 3 games, and he's hit the other one only in 2 games.
So I like that. That's a nice twist. I like that.
Yeah. And also that one could cash right away. I mean, first drive of the game, they could hand that off, and you get it. I like that. All right, what else do you like?
And I think given the nice mismatch in the rushing game here, I think we could go to Zach Wilson over 12.5 rush yards. -115. He's done it in 4 or 5 games. If you go look at his rush attempts, they're steadily increasing each week. So I mean, they're up high there, and then nice little staircase there. So against the hometown rivals here, I could see him trying to, run for a couple first downs or something, and behind this pretty good, offensive line, surprisingly, that he had, that he's, running behind. So that was the other one I had. I know you
like
don't love
that. No, I like that. I always like running quarterbacks.
Yeah.
No, that's a pretty good play. I didn't realize that he actually had been cashing that so many times in the last. Basically since he took over, right? 4 out of 5 games, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Especially, one of those was against Philly, right? Which was pretty good run defense, and then the one, the Denver game is probably the most comparable to the Giants, and he put up 26 there. So I love it. I think it's a great play.
All right,
you've convinced me.
Stamp of approval. All right.
What else? Anything on the Giants side? Can you do that?
No, please. No, I cannot.
All right, I'll do it for you. As bad as the rush defense is for the Giants, the Jets isn't that much better. What did you say their rankings are?
The Jets. We're talking about Jets rush.
Yeah,
rush D.
Exactly. Yep, rush
Jets
defense.
rush D is where do we have? No, they're pretty good. They have the 8th best.
Okay, 8th best. Yeah. But in terms of rushing yards,
I'm just talking about win rate. That was just 8th best.
Yeah, that's a win rate.
Yeah,
but they're giving up 135 rushing yards a game, which is a lot. I think Saquon Barkley is a good play in this game. I first started with his yards at 70.5. I think you can get that as low as 69.5, which he's done in each of the last 2 weeks. Now, last 2 weeks is a good period to look at. First of all, because that's when he came back, but also because that's when Tyrod Taylor took over. And I think, the Giants are just going to continue to try to run the offense through Barkley until Jones comes back, if he comes back. So I started with the rushing yards, but I actually think I like the rush attempts better. Look at his last 2 weeks: 24 attempts against Buffalo, 21 attempts against Washington. And we get this for 17.5. I think that's a pretty good value in this game, in a 36.5 point total game. So
interesting. The one thing I'd say, so I know they've given up a lot of rush yards, but if you look at the per attempt yards, yards before contact stuff, it's not great. But the one place, that I'm just looking, at the model here, that the Jets really are not good at, which I just remember, they've allowed the 2nd most targets and 3rd most receptions to running backs. So maybe, I'm looking at Saquon's receiving yards, 22.5, 41 against Washington,
29 against Arizona, only 5 against Buffalo.
Russian receiving 96.5. That's also a way to go.
But I'm staying away from the results and more focusing on the game script. And I just think Taylor's just going to be handing the ball off a ton to Barkley in this pretty intense environment. So I think 17.5 rush attempts is a no-brainer. I think he'll probably be somewhere up in the 20s.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Because I don't think either team is going to be below. This is going to be a 7-6 game at halftime or something, right? It's going to be really ugly and low scoring probably. All right, the other one, which I think you'll probably hate, but Darren Waller, 4.5 receptions. Again, since Taylor came on, he's had 5 receptions and 7 receptions. So again, just in terms of the Jet secondary is pretty good. I don't see Taylor putting anything really far down the field. So I think he's going to be handing the ball off when he's not handing the ball off. He's going to be dumping it to his tight end, just like Wilson goes to Conklin quite a bit. So I think at plus 130, this is really good value. In the last 3 games, he had 8 catches, 5 catches, 7 catches on 11, 7, and 8 targets. So he's getting a lot of volume. I think this is a pretty good opportunity in a game where I just don't see a lot of long passes. So what do you think?
Yeah, that seems like a nice little safety blanket for Taylor there. And I like the recent uptick in his production once Taylor started. I think there's a nice correlation there. So that seems like a pretty good play.
Yeah, I have no idea why Daniel Jones wouldn't throw the ball to him. He's probably his best receiver, but yeah, I don't know. He's been playing pretty well, so we'll ride that one.
All right.
All right. And what are you picking for the game? You got to give me a score prediction for this one.
Score prediction for this one. I'll go Jets 17-10.
That's so ugly. Do you think the Jets are going to win by 7? That's optimistic. This feels more like a 17-15 or 17-14 kind of game to me. But I feel like the Jets will win.
My initial thought was 17-14, but I don't think the Giants are scoring 2 touchdowns here. So I brought it down to 10 there.
Right. So that's good. I like that.
All right. Nice work today. We got some good NBA picks out already, and we'll get a couple of these NFL ones up nice and early on Friday here before the lines start to move too much. And I think we'll all be ready to make some serious money this weekend. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan to me. Let's do it.
All right. Nice work.